Hello and welcome to your first set of videos. These are the essential skills review videos. There's a couple that are going to happen here, and then there's another one that's going to happen later in the course. The first essential skill for Math 60 is that you know how to factor. So there are, one, two, three, four, five types of factoring that are essential for you to know, and we're going to start with factoring out a common factor. This is the first step always in factoring, and when I say factoring out a greatest or common factor, most of you will know this as finding the greatest common factor. To factor as a greatest common factor, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the two terms or three terms or four terms, however many terms are in the polynomial expression that you're factoring, and you're going to look for the highest number and variable that you can divide evenly into all of the terms. So for example, in this one, I could take out a 3x, so I divided both terms by 3x, then I take the 3x out front, and then I write the remainder in the bracket. You can always check that you factored correctly by multiplying back through. So you'll notice I started with a binomial, a two-term expression. If I multiply back through, I get a binomial as well. One more thing is that there's a rule of thumb that you take the sign of the first term. So if you look at this binomial expression that I'm going to factor, the first thing I'm going to decide is what is the highest common factor. So I've got a 28 and a k and a 7. So this term doesn't have a k, so I can't take a k. So I'm looking at the 28 and the 7, and I notice that 7 actually goes into both of these terms. Since this first term is positive, I'm going to take a positive 7. The greatest common factor will be written out front, and then I write the remainder in the bracket. 28k divided by 7 would be 4k, and then 7 divided by 7 is 1, and it's really important that you write that 1 because again, if I multiply back through, I want to end up with two terms. Okay, so for this next one, I'm going to take the sign of the first term. So in this one, I'm going to be taking out a negative. I'm going to look at the 2 and the 6. The greatest common factor is a 2. I look at the x and the x, I can take an x, and then I have a y squared and a y, and since this one only has a y to give, I can only take a y. So again, I'm going to greatest common factor and put it out front, and then my remainder will be negative 2 divided by negative 2 is 1, x divided by x is 1, y squared divided by y is y. Negative 6 divided by negative 2 is positive 3, x divided by x is 1, y divided by y is 1. This next one, you'll notice again that this is a binomial expression. So being a binomial means it's two terms. This is one term because everything is multiplying. So this is considered one term. Even though if I multiplied it through, I would get a binomial, this written this way is considered one term. So I have two terms in this expression. The common factor is actually going to be this a minus 3. So I'm going to take the a minus 3, I'm going to write it out front, and if you want, you can put it as division. Right? So I'm dividing by a minus 3. What am I left with? I'm left with a 2x and a 3. All right, that's greatest common factoring. That is the first skill to review.